Hi, my name is Melissa Kaplan, and I'm Senior Policy Advocate at CARE, working on food security and nutrition issues. And I work on the government relations team, also working closely with the food and water systems team as part of my advocacy with the US government. So I'm here today to talk to you a bit about my work and specifically talk about three important pieces of legislation that I'm currently working on. The first is the Global Food Security Act, or the GFA. The second is the Farm Bill. I will begin by talking about the GFSA. The GFSA is the legislation that authorizes the Feed the Future program, which you're probably familiar with. If you're not, Feed the Future is the US government's flagship food security program. It was created in 2010 as a result of the price spikes and global food security crisis that happened in 2007, 2008, as the US government's response to global food insecurity. And since then, it has acted for the past 12 years to address food security needs around the globe. And in 2016, the US Congress passed and President Obama signed into law the Global Food Security Act, which made the program permanent through the amount of time that it was authorized for, which was 2 years at the time. And then in 2018, it was given another 5-year authorization through 2023. So what that means is that Feed the Future exists in law, and it can't simply be eliminated by a future administration if they decide to do so, as long as the global authorizing future, it will continue its work. So at 2023, we are now at the point where it's time for a new Global Food Security Act to provide another 5 years of authorization for Feed the Future. And CARE has been working very closely with champions in both the Senate and House of Representatives on this new bill. We want to make sure that it both builds on Feed the Future's successes and also, where it's needed, makes changes to make the program even better. So CARE has been working to include language in the new GFSA on women and girls, making sure that nutrition is in making sure that nutrition is integrated as much as possible in Feed the Future programming, and also making sure that the multi-sectoral collaboration of Feed the Future continues and gets stronger so that it's working across sectors. And finally, we want to make sure that the new GFSA includes more funding, a higher level of authorization for funding for Feed the Future. For the past several years, Feed the Future has been funded at just over $1 billion. Obviously, with the global food security crisis happening, especially the extra impacts from the COVID crisis and the Ukraine crisis, we want to be sure that this funding is at a higher level. So we're working to find more funding to be included in the new bill. In addition to that, I'm working on the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill is a very large piece of legislation that mostly focuses on US domestic agriculture. It does, however, have a section that deals with food aid programming. So there's also an international component to it, and that's what CARE is involved with. We are expecting that a new Farm Bill will be introduced in the House and Senate in 2023. And we'll also then provide an authorization for the next several years for various programming on food security. And what we hope to see in the new Farm Bill is, first of all, a strengthening of the increased flexibility that we've seen in recent years for US government programming and implementers like CARE to be able to use whatever modality works best in delivering their food assistance, whether that means cash, vouchers, in-kind contributions shipped from the US, food purchase in local markets, just whatever makes the most sense in every individual context. So we're working to make sure that we provide increased flexibility for all that programming. Also supporting Food for Peace, McGovern Dole, making sure that McGovern Dole both continues and also has increased funding for local and regional procurement. These are some of our priorities around the Farm Bill. And finally, I will speak briefly about the appropriations process. As you probably know, every year the US government passes legislation to fund the entire government, including the international affairs budget. And all of CARE's programming work comes under the umbrella of the international budget that the US passes every year and the president then signs into law. So usually this starts around February. The president will provide what's called a president's budget request, which is non-binding. It doesn't have any force of law, but it lays out kind of a blueprint for what the president and his administration hope to see in terms of funding for different parts of the US government, different budget accounts. And this includes all the things that CARE works on, like our food security accounts, the water, sanitation, and hygiene accounts, global health, humanitarian accounts, and so forth. So the president begins at the beginning of the year by proposing his budget, and then Congress, both the House of Representatives and Senate, get to work and draft their own bills that provide funding for all of these different budget accounts. CARE advocates in particular for programs like Food for Peace, Feed the Future, McGovern Dole, the nutrition program within the Global Health Program group, and make sure that these as strong fund possible. And for example, with the nutrition sub-account, we are advocating for it to be almost doubled from $155 million to $300 million a year. So we're currently in the process of working on appropriations. Within the next few months, both the House and Senate should, at least in theory, pass their bills for all of the different accounts they fund, including the international affairs budget, and the president will sign these into law. If there's a delay, they should be passed by the end of September, but that often doesn't happen because Congress takes a little bit longer to, there often needs to be what we call a continuing resolution. And this funds the government at last year's levels until the government is able to pass a new legislation that would provide a new budget for the new fiscal year. So we hope that won't happen or last for too long, but in any case, the process is ongoing, and I'm very happy to answer any questions about the budget throughout the year. Everything. So as I said, I focus mostly on Global Food Security Act, the Farm Bill, and appropriations. I'm very happy to discuss any of this with you at any time, and really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks so much. Bye.